about the 7 positions that we might find ourselves in when we're in a fight. And what that means is everything's been chaotic. Maybe people start swinging, and we've looked at videotape, crime scenes, and MMA fights, and we try to see how do people wind up in a fight. Because you wind up in positions that don't look too intelligent. It's because 2 humans are fighting. But you have to know where to go. It's kind of like a backup plan. What is your plan? All right, so now we're going to demonstrate the twofer. Again, it's a goofy way of saying 2, and this stands for the 2-on-1 wrestling, Greco-Roman, various types of grappling arts position. All it is I'm lucky enough to get the wrist. However I got here doesn't matter at this point. All we want to do is see the availability. I get this wrist, I get underneath, and here is my twofer. Now I've got a little bit of an anchor here. If I'm able to step forward, that's when I can crank the person down. So when we say twofer, this is what I'm talking about. Okay.
In this video, the good guy's in the red. The other guy is our bad guy. And I love the way the good guy keeps that wrist snug against his hip. And then notice his shoulder connection as well. Everything is super tight. Now it doesn't look like much until you step forward with your inside leg and drop a little body weight down on it. That way you apply the tension that is needed to avert the person's trying to punch you or turn into you. Watch how he does this. A little bit of force. My only advice here is that he should be more hip to hip with the bad guy, and with his outside foot he can step backwards.
Next, I'm going to talk about, let's do the tall guy. The tall guy happens when someone's a little bit taller than me, and let's say they throw a punch and somehow I got here. Okay, so it could be like an underhook. So all I'm going to do is put 2 hands on the cap of their shoulder, but I don't want to get too much of that punch steam, so I'm going to frame off. And then I'm going to go this way. Okay, and if that person tries to go ahead and try to face me, I'm just going to keep going around. That's my goal. I'm not trying to engage them in a wrestling match. I don't want to compete with them because they might be able to beat me. And that's not what we're trying to do.
Okay, here we have the tall guy technique. Notice how he will release the frame hand, throw his strikes, and then he can use it right back in the framing position if he wants. He can spin, control. Spinning is better than pulling and fighting and resisting this guy. So you cover, crash, get that position, strike when wanted.
Next, let's demonstrate the whisper. Whisper is a very similar situation, except this time you're a little bit taller. So as they throw their punch, you just crash, okay? You're able to get that overhook, and you're holding this tight. This is your frame, and you can step back with either leg. The thing is you just want to control this, and you can either pin and frame right here, or you can throw your little baby strikes. Okay, so this is the whisper.
All right, good guys in the black t-shirt again. Watch how he transitions. He started off with the tall guy and then went to an overhook into the whisper. Same thing though, you can release that frame hand, dump some strikes, and then reframe when needed. Pressure, pressure, pressure.
Then we have the bat. All that is let's say this person came at me with a knife and I was able to block it here, but I can't catch the wrist. So I press, one arm up, one arm lower, I should say, one arm above the elbow, one arm below the elbow. Then I come down and I'm lucky enough to get this grip, an alligator grip if you will, and then I'm going to lock out my arms, move into them, try to get that good head position so you're under theirs, and bring them to the ground, keep everything locked, and it's going to be a fight, believe me. But if you're walking backwards, it makes them fall if we're having a good day. So that's the ball bat.
Hey, let's look at the bat technique. as it's used in a drill. Again, the good guy's in the red. His goal is going to be to lengthen that arm. You notice there's a knife in that bad guy's hand. As long as it's bent like that, he's got a lot of thrusting power and he can bury that knife into you. So lengthen it out. Remove the slack. Try to bring his knuckles to the concrete. If the guy moves backwards or goes off to the side, you want to keep your shoulder connected to his and just move with him. Keep that tension in the arm tight. Yeah, this is bad. Guy's going to start boxing with a knife in his hand. We don't do too well in those situations. So straighten the arm and go with him. The important thing, shoulder-to-shoulder contact.
Then we have the toddler. And it's for you wrestlers, it's a double leg side entry. So if this guy's facing here, and I were to come in here, the toddler, it's goofy. It's a toddler who doesn't want his dad to go to work after it got dropped off. So I can do this. I can trap an arm if I'm lucky enough to. Or I can start leg attacks. And again, all I'm doing is driving forward and looking up. And that's how I'm going to affect different maneuvers, whether they're takedowns or just spinning maneuvers, trying to catch my breath and see where I want to go next.
Here's an interesting way to look at the toddler go down. Good guy's in white. He's going to get in the position on purpose. He's just going to pull the guy's tricep towards him, push his head away a little bit, and that lines him up with that correct angle that we use in the toddler. Instead of grabbing around the waist, though, he's just going to grab an inside leg, an outside leg, head up, and he's going to drive forward. Well done.
The next is a bouncer, and that's a one-arm rear naked choke. More of an escort hold. It's not a submission in a sense. If I were to put him, start going for a full rear naked choke, and he sees us coming, he can just spin one way or another. And granted, he'd be fighting the hands, but now I'm in a fight again. And again, I don't want to compete with this person. So instead, my end position will be just the one arm, and then this hand comes underneath. And then I start walking backwards to take him off balance. So that's another position.
All right, good guys in the dark blue shirt. He is going to use the bouncer technique, and watch how he sets it up. Once he decides he has to get this man under control, he's going to use a distraction with his right hand, kind of maybe check his shoulder, and then he's going to pull this guy's tricep on the other side around and spin him just like that. Now, instead of using a regular rear naked choke, again, it's a one arm. It allows you to kind of block the guy's ability to spin, and you can use him as a human shield if any of his buddies start coming up. Or you can just sink in the choke and then drop your body weight down.
We have the wrestler, and I broke the wrestler down into two parts, the elbow chop and the ankle pick, which is going to be familiar to a bunch of you, but maybe not to someone who's never gone to a standard collegiate wrestling class. So if you can get down, please. This is the referee's position in wrestling, okay? Why would we even cover this? Because if you're in law enforcement or the military and you've been wrestling with a guy trying to get them restrained, there's going to come a point when they pop back up. And they'll be like this, just like a table with four legs. And most videos of cops having a really hard time, you'll see that they're fighting for this hand. And once they lose that squirrely, chaotic hand, they pull out their taser and they're tasering the guy. And if this guy's not feeling pain today, or even with a drive stun, if the prongs aren't in right, I'm in a fight. And there's way too much space between me and I'm not in control of anything. So, what you want to get used to doing is noticing when this person's setting up to this four-legged table position. Just grab them just like a wrestler would. The hand on belly. This hand here is going to be the chop. So you go boom, and then you're going to take your knee, which you can't see me, but it's over here. I'm going to drive it forward, and put this person in the ground. Now, if I've already been struggling with them, and I am in law enforcement, in most cases, the best thing to do is sometimes just to sit there. Hold on tight, maybe hold their arm in their belly, and let them gas out as they're fighting. Now, bad guys are smart. Sometimes you'll be like, okay, I give. And then they'll start up again. We know that. But if you release, don't release all the way. Just go from 100% to 75 to 50, but always be ready to snatch them back up. So that's the elbow chop.
All right, like we stated, a lot of times in law enforcement, the bad guy will drop down like this guy here in the orange shorts, okay? Remember, you have 4 legs to every table. So we're going to look at the elbow chop and the ankle pick as ways to remove one of the legs of that table. So here you'll notice the good guy in the yellow just takes that elbow away, and he's holding on tight to the guy's waist with his other hand. Now, as soon as he pulls that arm away, he's going to put his knee in that guy's rump and just drive him forward onto the ground. And you can just stay there and wait it out, or the bad guy's probably going to push you back up like this, and you can do it all over again. Don't rush it. Don't always go trying to grab the hands if things are too chaotic or if they're whipping around. You have to control the chaos first.
Up, down. Now, what if I don't want to get near their hands? They're too big, they're too strong. It doesn't matter the reason. You can, instead of going this route, I can go for an ankle pick, which is where I'd put my hand this way underneath their belly, keep 0 space between me and the bad guy. I'm going to lift up in the back, press him forward, and then stay down. I want to stay heavy on his hips and his lower back. I don't want to get up too high. Okay.
Now he's going to move on to the ankle pick here. This is great because a lot of times if you wind up here in some kind of fight, the bad guy's going to try to be standing up. So what I like to do is always keep one hand on the waist. Sometimes I'll switch sides, but always look at having one hand around the waist, your other hand on an ankle. And that way, if you push them in the direction of the leg that you have trapped, that's going to be like taking the leg out from under the table. And again, you're driving forward. I mean, people will push back up all day long. We have to have more endurance than the bad guy. One last time. It can be easy as that.